We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the CashFlowPro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show.
Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of CashFlowPro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I'm here today with Shannon Robnett, and Shannon is going to be talking. We were just what do we call it, Shannon? Solving for X, and X is the most unpredictable part about the profession that we all embrace and love so much. The real estate investment profession that is. And so, Shannon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on to start, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thanks so much, Casey. I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak to your audience. You know, I grew up in a real estate family. In fact, I'm here in Mexico currently with Robert Kiyosaki and some other guys in a great mastermind. And I was telling Robert that when I read his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it didn't mean a lot to me because I grew up with Poor Dad. Right. I grew up with a mom that sold real estate. I grew up with a dad that was a builder and a developer. And I saw all that happen. And I saw all the hard work that went with that. And my parents were always scrambling for cash. Right. So as I grew up, I grew into that development phase. And I didn't like working with homeowners. I liked working with business owners. And so I kind of veered away from the single family home side of things and went into the commercial development. And I built hospitals, city halls, fire stations, police stations, medical office, you name it, I've built it. And I just kind of, in the last couple of years, found myself in the syndication world because my own personal developments were getting too big for a single check writer. The last deal I did was a 180-unit multifamily apartment complex that was a single checks writer. He wrote the checks. I did all the work. We had a beautiful partnership, but we were going bigger than that. And it got to the place where I had to look outside of that single person. And so I had to kind of step into that syndication world. And that was the X I had to solve for. I had all of the experience over 30 years of doing construction and development, $350 million in personal deals that I've done. However, I'd never really solved for X in the sense that X was my capital need. And now I've been thrust into that world over the last couple of years trying to solve for that.
Well, and so many people get stuck in that. I don't even know what to call like a matrix or something, is when you've outscaled what you can do on your own.
Right.
And then people are like, right, okay, what do I do now? And how do these guys, because that was always my question as I was scaling up my single family stuff was how there's somebody somewhere is taking these big 100 unit, 150 unit, 200 unit apartment complexes down to start with. And number two, there's people out there building them. And how are they doing it? There has to be a secret somewhere. And that's, then you start leaking into saying, okay, hey, then you start looking for answers. Right. So I think we've all been down that. Did you go down the single family road for a while?
No, I went down the single family road for 3 houses, and I had one particular client that cured me of that. But I was there with my,
we've all had him.
That's another story for another. I'll tell you what, God bless her. But what I looked at was I was developing for other people. Yep. Right. And I came to this place where I had done industrial developments and I'd done a few small multifamily. And like you just said, I came to this place where I hit the wall. I'd found this partner. We're building a 180 unit deal. Right. It was a $40 million project to build it. We sold it and made fantastic money on it. But in that solving for X, I had to figure out what was going on. And there was a gentleman on the other side of the transaction that was buying it that says, oh, you guys must have syndicated your capital. And this was about 3 years ago. And I just looked at him and I said, syndicated, what does that mean? Right. And he looked at me like I had just just arrived here from another planet. How can you be involved in multifamily and not know about syndication, right? And so at that point, this gentleman came out of the movies, and in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that's how they raised money to make movies. And so he'd been involved in syndication.
No, they still do that. They still do that to this day.
Yeah, they do. They do. But they were the only ones that did that, right? Before the CARES Act, we really couldn't do that in our space, or it wasn't done on the 100-unit level, right? And so as I solved for that, I realized that my problem was I could scale, I could develop, I could find all kinds of deals, but my ceiling was my capital side, right? And I think in the multifamily world, we all run into that, whether it's we have all the capital, but we can't find deal flow. We've got deal flow, but no capital. We've got operational issues, whatever it is, there's always that X that you have to solve for, right? And for each person, it's different. For each group, it's different. And in the development, the construction world, that's not a team sport, right? But the multifamily syndication world is. There's a lot of people out there. And, I've spent the week with Kenny McElroy and Jason Hartman and some really big names that are helping me break that ceiling, but I still have to solve for X. And it's been an interesting journey, but at the end of the day, it's helped me find where I don't have to actually be the solution to all my problems.
Hey, man, that you said it right there. Try getting to a position where you or me don't have to be a solution for my problems. I think to me, that's almost like a roundabout definition of cash flow. I mean, of what cash flow provides.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And what you're trying to do is you're good at, Casey, your business, you can do every aspect of it. I don't doubt, right? There's parts of it that you'd rather slam your fingers in the door than do, but you do and there's parts of it that you jump up out of bed early in the morning to go do those pieces because it's what you love. It's what attracted you to this, this field and this way of making money. And what I've had to learn is that solving for X means that either you build a company and bring in other people that have that as a strength, or you outsource and partner with others that have that as a strength, right? And so, but that was really hard for me after 28 years of doing deals on my own to train myself that I could cheat, right? That I could shortcut. I didn't have to go raise, all $58 million by myself, even though I did. I learned after that there's an easier way to do this. And it really is about getting involved and finding other people that can take you to that next level. And then what you'll find is your superpower of underwriting or whatever then takes it to another level. And then you're dragging your capital raise people up, however you're partnering up. It just becomes this climb to the top that's awesome to participate in.
Yeah. And, and so many people think the only way between A and C is through B, when in fact, or you know what I'm saying, you can get there easier, faster, better. And man, I tell you, when you start talking about those, like when you start talking about simplifying and elevating up, that right there is probably what really stuck out to me when I very, very, very first started down the path of not the real estate business, because I've been in the real estate business for 15 years. But when I first started down the path of capital raising and learning and trying to figure out what all that stuff meant to me, man, I was like, dude, I can simplify. Like I can take so much of this stuff and simplify it into one. For instance, one of the very first, I don't know, things that like came in my mind, I heard somebody say something about a virtual assistant. And all these years, my assistant had sat right next to me in my office, I had physical pieces of paper and things that I would take and hand to her and she would do, right? Never in a million years did I ever think somebody else could do this from afar on their own computer screen And then to even go a step further, then you say, okay, hey, this person can do it for $1.25 an hour, which based to some people like, why are you ripping those people off? No, I'm going to tell you, $1.25 an hour is good money to a lot of people in this world because of the exchange.
Well, and then the other thing you could do is you need somebody for 6 hours of graphic design, right? And then you need somebody for 6 hours of organization, and you need somebody for these other aspects of the deal where you're able to actually get specialists in those areas that now you can not only at that price point get into, a specialist in that area,
Yep.
And here's another thing that kind of clicked with me too, Casey, along those same lines is I sat there and I looked at it and I said, do I really think I'm smarter than Warren Buffett? Well, obviously, no. But Warren Buffett really only does one thing.
We do.
He buys businesses that are already providing cash flow using other people's money. You're exactly right. And when I saw that, I knew I wasn't smarter than Warren Buffett. Why wasn't I doing what Warren did? Warren didn't underwrite the deal, right? Mr. Buffett didn't operationally run the deal. He saw a good, strong business that had a balance sheet that he liked. He had a product that he liked, whether that was Coca-Cola or NetJets or whatever it was. He saw the opportunity to harness that cash flow using other people's cash.
Yep.
And I just went, this is genius. And all he was good at was one thing. He was good at putting together the team.
Yep.
And Charlie Munger on there that did the operational side of things, I would guess. He had other people in Wall Street that brought him all the capital he could ever use, and he just put deals together.
That's exactly right, man. I'll tell you, I hit that whole Warren Buffett is just like us thing, like within my very first 10 or 15 episodes. I was like, because where we come from, we've learned where we come from, the mastermind that I come from, we have, my initial one was we were learning about fund of funds model, right? Like the fund of funds where you go out, you raise money, then you invest in somebody else's deal, voila. And being that middleman between the capital and putting the investor relations part on us was what it was all about. And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. Warren Buffett, this is exactly what he does, because all he's doing is going out and he's calling his list, the list that he's built over these hundreds of years, these lists that he's built over all these years. And he's saying, hey guys, I think that Coca-Cola is the move. Like Coca-Cola's got this manager, they've got this, and even to go a step further, he specifically invests in the management team. They're obviously they underwrite the deal and see the financials and all that stuff. But he said, we hire good managers, and other than that, we play bridge. And I was like, wait, what? Yep. And so you're right. That team is so important.
And now he's gotten to the point that when Warren Buffett buys a business, its stock automatically goes up because everybody in town follows Warren Buffett to the deal and goes, that's the best underwriting in town, and it's the cheapest. You just find out what Warren Buffett buys, and you go buy what Warren
and
did.
They're going to underwrite. They're going to conservatively underwrite, and good and well that there's quite a bit of probably corporate fat there that he's going to cut, and he's going to increase it's the same way we increase the value of an apartment building, right, Shannon?
Completely.
You take that apartment building,
absolutely.
You increase the income, you decrease the expenses. The ultimate value of that apartment building then becomes the cap rate divided by the NOI, or the NOI divided by the cap rate.
Right.
And so
right.
It's the same difference. It's the same thing.
Right.
He's buying these companies, he's making them operate efficiently, and that's the end of it. And I tell you, I've been like really just wanting to have this discussion with somebody else that sees all of this exactly the same way I do, and I'm glad you brought it up. So go ahead. Yeah, tell us. Let's talk more about whatever, man.
And it's that's just the thing, and it's very few people that can see that there are so many opportunities. There's another gal that I follow on Instagram, Casey Sanchez, and her whole thing is about buying businesses, right? She likes businesses that spit cash flow and don't take a lot of work.
Yep.
Well, she hasn't quite warmed up to apartments are a business. She still thinks they're, 180 people that are centrally located to be a pain in your butt. And they can be that, right, Casey? We know
Yes,
that. But
absolutely.
the other side of it is they are a cash flow business, right? You're setting this up, you're taking long-term debt, you're leveraging. And we do something a little bit better because we create the original value add, right? Where we go in and we find the land, we develop the property, we build the units, and we operate brand new properties. So where most people are factoring in a 36 to 45% expense ratio, we're down in the high 20s, right? Because we've got brand new, we've got warranty, we've got energy efficient, we've got all the amenities that everybody likes at the beginning, right? And we're not having to retrofit. The big thing after COVID is everybody wants a work from home space in an apartment. Well, when you're trying to buy a C and make it a B, that's kind of, you're limited by this. We're able to design that stuff in, right? Yep. But you're still only taking these pieces and putting together to make the cash flow that goes through that business stop with you, right? And so when you can really grasp that, you can take exactly what we do and go, well, I can do it with, an apartment complex, or I can do it with my local, in my town, it's called Tate's Rents. It's where you go to rent a rotor-hammer or a concrete mixer, or a jackhammer, or, a wheelbarrow or skid steer, whatever. But you can do the same thing there because you're buying these assets, you're assembling them, you're putting them in a space, you're renting them out, you're creating cash flow. But all of that takes money, which is what X is that we're solving for. So now you're going to go out and you're going to put together a business model that allows people to come in and see that this is what X is. Here's how you get a return without having to be the guy checking things out and making sure the trailer's hooked up and all that kind of stuff before they leave the yard with a skid steer, right? But it's those kinds of things that the thing that I've pulled away from that, when I look back at that Warren Buffett model, is stop trying to be Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, the funds manager, the guy that's running Coca-Cola, and the guy driving the freight to the store. Stop being all those people in your business. Figure out what your business is all about. Start making phone calls to people that aren't that or do what you don't like to do. And start creating those partnerships where you can say, hey, I have a group of people that love to put capital to work in deals like what you have. Or I am a guy that has more deal flow than I have capital. Let's look at putting some stuff together where we can operationally make some things happen that we can be like Warren Buffett too.
That's right. And and I was reading, I recently read a book that I really should have read probably years ago about Elon Musk. Musk is another one of those guys who is insanely efficient. He is like people think, okay, Elon Musk, he's worth all these billions of dollars, right? Well, they talk about in the book where he would, where people would take, like they would need something at SpaceX to complete this project or something, right? And the expense of that was $150,000, just say. And he would flat turn it down. We don't have the money. When in reality, he had the money was there. There was no problem with the money, but he saw it as an unnecessary expense that somebody could know their way around, cut that fat, and bring it back in and make it more efficient. And again, so it all comes full cycle. I'd like to hear a little more. You said you're in Mexico, which is awesome to be down there. I mean, I assume which mastermind are you in?
So I'm currently at the Collective, which is Jason Hartman, Kenny McElroy, and George Gamut kind of put it together. And it's just like-minded business people. We're not all in real estate, which is good because some masterminds, you sit there and drink the Kool-Aid and all you're talking is real estate, right? But it's like-minded people that get together that come up with great business ideas. One of the guys that's here, he owns more patents than anybody on artificial intelligence, and everybody from Facebook to Amazon is using his stuff. This is a guy that can look at my processes and procedures and go, here's a way for AI to help you, just like you saw VA could help you. Here's how AI could help you that I would never be in proximity to if I wasn't reinvesting in myself in a place like this.
And that's, and with that being said, I touched real quick on the importance of a mentorship program.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
I just
couldn't agree more.
Man, it's so ignorant to me when I hear people that are like, man, no, I don't need to pay so-and-so to do such and such. As somebody told me that on on this podcast, I was like, okay, no problem. Because that just leaves more for the rest of us, I guess.
I'm here to, everybody asks this question too. What would you go back and tell your 20-year-old self, right? So here I am. I've never worked for anybody else in my adult life, right? I would go back and I would tell myself, invest more in mentoring. Go to work for someone else. Find out what you want to do and go shadow somebody. Go give up 2 years of your life like it's the Peace Corps and look at where you're at. Instead of being where I'm at 49 years old, you're going to be where I'm at 34 years old because you got all the secret sauce, you got all the steps, you got all the stuff, you've networked with the other people. Because, Casey, as you and I can agree, the only difference between where you're at and where you could have been is the amount of time and effort you put into learning and perfecting the craft from people that already had it nailed down.
That's right. That's exactly
There's no school that says, hey, I'm going to go to Wharton University and take Syndicator 101. Yep. I'm going to take Property Management 605, and get a master's degree in that. No, you got to go work for a property management company to see what's wrong with things to fix that. It's just like Elon Musk. He was involved in every aspect of his business. He lives in his factories, for crying out loud, because he wants to make sure that he understands every part of the process. Now he's just running the thing, but it's like, funny tie back to Elon too, is one of my investors used to insure SpaceX rockets.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Talk about it.
And yeah, I know, it's going to blow up, right? And when they first started, they had to commit, SpaceX had to commit to a certain number of launches at 50 cents on the dollar. So you got $100 million rocket going up, and you have to commit to insure the next 10 or something like that, because I know I got to get my money back, right? But that was another thing where he outsourced what he didn't want to do because he didn't want to burn up all of his investors' money, right? But he had to ensure that he could get there with the trial and error process. And having done that and built other businesses, he saw there was ways to do that. And if you're not plugging into masterminds, you're not getting any of that experience. You're having to bump your head against the wall. And I can tell you, I've done more in my businesses in 3 years of being involved in mentorships and masterminds than I did in the previous 28.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So if you want to see what it looks like to build a business and then add the secret sauce, then add the ability to go in and go, I've learned more in the last 36 months than I've learned in the previous 28 years as far as how to grow my personal wealth and my personal business brand, to the fact that in the last 30 months, we've raised $34.5 million, $54.5 million, because of who we've been hanging out with and what we've learned, not because of what I already knew, because I've been banging nails for 29 years.
So through
getting around the people, you can change
coaching programs, you've raised that money directly from people you've come in contact with.
Yeah, we are a completely retail investor organization. We don't deal with institutional money or anything like that because there's too many strings that come with that.
Neither do we. I don't. If somebody calls and wants to invest $50 million, I'm out. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's too much control, and then when you get the institutions, it has to fit like this. It has to smell like that. We got to have this. Yep. And by the way, we got to do that. And next thing you know, the only thing
by the way, we want everything in blue ink. And by the way, we don't want you using this. And it's not.
Right. Exactly.
It's just not.
And the only thing that you're there for is to sign for the loan and be the fall guy if things go south. That's what you figure out on that deal pretty quick.
Yep, that's exactly right. And everything is tailored to their direction. No, it didn't take very long. It was just I'd never even began down the path of institutional money, partially because I've been involved in enough deals, real estate deals, enough to know that what the big guys want. When you're dealing with institutional type stuff. And so, but it really just didn't fit our business model. Too much control, and again, it's just muddy waters. It's not the fact that I can't, that I have to be in control or something like that, but it's just, you don't want somebody else making the decisions that then you're taking the fall guy. You're the fall guy for the rest of your investors.
Well, and the other thing is, typically what happens with institutional money is they're good at raising capital.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily great at running businesses. They want the bottom line to look good. And so here you are operationally in conflict the whole time with them over what's going to happen. And hey, we need to eliminate this. We can't eliminate that. That's why people rent from us. These are the things. No, that doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is, when you go to masterminds, you learn that this is the right way to go. You learn ways that you don't have to go to institutional money, right?
Yep.
And you're not stuck with this other guy in your deal called Perry Pursue, right? I learned about him pretty quickly. And what Perry Pursue does is he takes all your profits and gives it to the institutions, right? And that's based on how much we invest, and how much you invest is how we get paid out.
Man,
I found out real quick I didn't like Perry Pursue.
That's exactly right. I'm telling you, man.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the CashFlowPro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making CashFlowPro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
I'm telling you, dude, these are all discussions like I've had in my head 1,000 times, and I'm just all of this whole episode is just discussions that have rattled around that I've had with myself. And so, well, man, let's talk a little bit about you and what you have going on right this minute. Like what direction are you all headed? I know obviously you're in Mexico, which I'm sure there's a beach somewhere there close to you, probably some sand, probably an ocean. But other than that,
Casey, the thing that I've always looked at in my business is how to be tax efficient, right? I mean, I learned early on that I did not like my silent partner. He was fat, he was lazy, he was ugly, and he took way too much for what he gave me. And that was my Uncle Sam, right? And so I've worked hard to eliminate him out of my life. And so the first thing that we do is we try to make sure that our investments are very tax efficient, right? We've got an investment currently that we're doing right now that is we bought an old warehouse. We're in the position of rezoning the warehouse. We're going to put a 170-unit apartment complex on there. But this year we're taking the bonus depreciation on a $5 million warehouse, and we're going to erase $1.5 million in value. Next year, we're going to tear down the warehouse and claim the rest of that $5 million in depreciation. And then out of that, we're going to build a new building. So we've already started out with a $2.5 million equity investment and a $5 million tax credit.
Well, now let me ask you this. I'd like to know what are you using to make that happen so fast?
Well, the reality is it's just depreciation. Right? So you're taking 100% bonus depreciation this year. So you take a $5 million investment, you take about 30% of that, right? So you've done your cost segregation study. Okay. Now you've taken $1.5 million off. You pass that on to the investors, right? They enjoy that. And then next year, you demo the building. Now you're going back to the IRS. You're saying, hey, the building is gone. So that other 70% of depreciation, we're taking that now. So then you're taking another $3.5 million in depreciation. You're distributing that to your investors, right? And then you're bringing in the capital and you're going vertical, right? So now everybody started out with more tax benefit than dollars going in. You're at almost a 250% tax benefit to cash in. Then we build an asset out of that. So we start with you having tax credit rather than coming to a place where your income is going to be taxed. We start with a hole, right?
Yeah, and then
I've found that.
And then you're not only starting with a hole, but then you're starting back. You can build back, and then, if I'm not mistaken, take depreciation on the new that's there after it's built.
Exactly. Exactly. And your cost segregation study is going to help you. Then you're going to, I think they've extended the 45L, which is a energy efficient credit that you get with new construction, which is a true tax credit, which is about $4,500 a door. $2,500 a door.
Just passed. Yep. You're exactly right.
And so now we put in we're going to call it 200 units. So we get another $2,500 a door on 200 units. So we get another $2.5 million tax credit. That's dollar for dollar against your taxable income that gets passed on to the investors, right?
That's right.
So when you do those things, now I've just increased everybody's ROI on what we already had by 20 to 30% because we've just cut out our ugly uncle, right?
That's right.
So when we do that, and you get to do that a lot with development and investing, you get to do that a lot when you have the ability to put these deals together that allows you to be in that position where you're in the driver's seat because you raised the capital. You're in the driver's seat because you did the development, and you've sold for X in every single one of these situations. And in some cases, you've partnered with the solution, right? And so that's really kind of what we're doing now. We've got about 800 doors in the pipeline that are various stages. We've got currently about 250 under construction in addition to that. But we're doing things that make sense on a tax basis also. Yep. And we're paying a lot of attention because, as you know, Casey, a lot of the people that you're dealing with that are investors of yours are coming to you because they have money, and usually people with money have tax problems.
That's right. Most all the time. They go hand in hand. So, all right, listen,
exactly.
We're running up towards the end of
again, solving for X.
Yes, solving for X. That's the problem. That should be the title of your book. There you go.
That's right.
That's it. When you write your book, title it Solving for X. All right, so listen,
I will.
A couple of questions we ask every guest that comes on the show. The first of those is, what is the best book that you've recently read or are currently reading?
I think that trying to remember. That's one I've just gotten started in it. But the last book I read that really made a huge impact, and it's really relevant right now because deal flow's tough and everything. It's Never Split the Difference with Chris Voss.
Yep.
And it really helped me to put my mindset in the right position to not look at it and hammer away at the deal. I've made you the best offer I can, but I haven't made you the best offer you want. So that's been a good book for me to continue to replay and continue to apply in my business.
Great book. All right, next question. What is a dream vacation that you have taken or hope to take?
Well,
as you said in Mexico,
yeah, no, a dream vacation for me is I'm a fourth generation or third generation pilot. My son's a fourth generation pilot. I would love to take a vacation of navigating our own aircraft throughout the world and just going where we wanted to go and kind of doing it on our terms, on our own time, and just flying where you wanted to fly and enjoying the flight to the place.
Yeah. And you know what? And I'll tell you, so I know this is, I don't want to damper the pilot, the discussion about the pilots, but my grandfather was a pilot, and he flew a small Cessna aircraft, like a single engine aircraft. All right. Now I get to the hard part to talk about as far as when you fly, you think of it. So my grandfather was killed in a plane crash, right? He was the pilot of this plane, died in a plane crash. And so about, I don't know, several months ago, I started because I'm like within just a couple years of being the age he was when he died. And so there was this thought that my mother and my aunt had that maybe he actually had a heart attack while he was flying, causing the plane to go down. And so obviously with that thought, and me being just a hair under or just a hair over a year younger than he was when he died and had a heart attack, I'm like, all right, I got to start figuring out exactly. I mean, because I'm like, you're like, all right, this is almost like midlife crisis kind of stuff, right? So anyway, where I'm going with this is I did not realize how many airstrips there are in this country. Like, even if you just did that across America, you could almost land at every little podunk, ma and pa town in this entire country. I'm talking about you could just damn near land in a field that somebody made an airstrip out of.
Absolutely. And it's such a great way to see the U.S. because you're not following the main interstate that runs through town and you're on the business bypass. And, you're really getting to see the outskirts and the town and what's in between. And you're doing it at a pace that fits you, right?
That's right. That's right. So I didn't mean to talk about that because I know everybody's like, I didn't plane crash yet. So anyway, and our claim to fame, Shannon, just so you know, is my grandfather invented the signs that are pulled behind airplanes that you see around the beach. And
there you go.
Whatever. So, needless to say, it didn't yield a single dollar to me because of that, but it's pretty cool to talk about. Anyway.
Well, I can show you how to take airplanes and make incredible tax savings out of them. 100% bonus depreciation year one while you put them into a business, and then you get to fly everywhere you want to on your own.
I'm ready for that private. I'm ready to learn how to do that with private planes because I'm tired of flying commercial.
Yep.
I'm sick and tired of flying commercial.
Yep.
Makes me.
I can show you how to do that. I currently have 5 in a flight school.
Awesome, man. Let's do that. I'm coming. Let's go. All right. Listen, how can the I almost said, how can the investors reach out and get in touch with you? How can the listeners reach out and get in touch with you if they heard something that resonated with them? They want to learn more about your company, your teachings, your whatever you have. What is a way they can do that?
Yeah. If you guys send me an email at connect@shannonrobnett.com, that's the easiest way to get to me. You can find my website, shannonrobnett.com, but connect@shannonrobnett.com. You can access my schedule, my calendar. I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to show you how you could be more tax efficient. I could show you how to solve for X. I could show you, where I came up with this crazy idea that Warren Buffett's smarter than me. Quick conversation will show you that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm telling you, he's the Buick driving old man that lives next door to everybody. I mean, it's just so, and it's just so unbelievably. He's just the man, basically. So, all right. Listen, listeners, if you would please, while you're here, head down and smash that subscribe button. And also, while you're there, leave us a review. We hope it's a 5-star review and that you also type a review so that others may know what you liked about the CashFlowPro podcast. And Shannon, I can't thank you enough, man. I know you're on a trip. You're on vacation. Tell all those guys. I've had some of them on my podcast. I'm sure there's some down there that you're with that have been on my podcast as well. We try to spread it out. Awesome. I love of course, Robert Kiyosaki is one of the guests we hope someday to have. But anyway, so tell them we all said hi. And listen, thank you so much again for your time. And listeners, thank you for your time. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
CashFlowPro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.